Hollywood had given Olivia de Havilland everything. 2 Academy Awards, a legal victory that changed the entire film industry, a career that most actresses would have given anything to have. She had fought harder and won more than almost anyone in the history of the business she worked in. And she was completely alone, not in the way that makes good headlines, in the quiet, ordinary way that finds successful people in empty rooms at the end of long days when the work is done and there is nothing left to fill the silence. She had tried love in Hollywood. It had not worked. And by 1953, Olivia de Havilland had reached a conclusion that many people in her position reach eventually. The life she had built was not the life she actually wanted. She had been married once before, to Marcus Goodrich in 1946. Marcus was a novelist, intelligent, serious, the kind of man who seemed right on paper and turned out to be very difficult in practice. The marriage produced 1 son, Benjamin, and lasted 9 years longer than it should have. Olivia de Havilland was honest about this in interviews later in her life. She stayed because leaving felt complicated. She left when staying felt impossible. The divorce was finalized in 1953. She was 37 years old. She had 2 Oscars on a shelf somewhere. She had a son. She had a career that could continue as long as she wanted it to. And she had a feeling that she could not quite name, the feeling that the version of her life she had been living was not the right version. So she did something that almost nobody at the height of Hollywood fame does. She left. Paris in the 1950s was not what it is now. It was quieter, more private, a city where an American actress could walk through a market or sit in a cafe without automatically becoming the most recognized person in the room. Olivia de Havilland had spent 20 years being recognized everywhere she went. The anonymity of Paris was not an inconvenience. It was the point. She arrived in Paris initially for professional reasons. A magazine assignment brought her into contact with the world of European journalism and culture that existed completely outside the Hollywood machine she had spent her adult life inside. And that is where she met Pierre Galanti. Pierre was a journalist, an editor at Paris Match, one of the most respected magazines in France. He was intelligent and thoughtful and interested in ideas in a way that the men Olivia de Havilland had known in Hollywood rarely were. He was not impressed by her Oscars. He was not trying to benefit from her fame. He was simply interested in her, in who she was when the cameras were not running and the studio was not watching and there was nothing to perform for. She had never experienced that before. They married in 1955. Olivia was 39 years old. She moved to Paris permanently. She left behind the Hollywood career that had defined her entire adult life and chose a different kind of life entirely, one built around a city she loved, a man who saw her clearly, and a quietness that she had been searching for without knowing that was what she was looking for. The industry she left behind noticed. There were people who called it a mistake, a career abandoned, a talent wasted on domesticity. Olivia de Havilland heard all of it and continued making decisions that had nothing to do with what the industry thought she should do. She made films in Europe. She raised her daughter Giselle, born in 1956, alongside Benjamin. She built a home on the right bank in Paris that she would live in for the rest of her life. She created a world that was entirely hers in a way that her Hollywood life had never quite been. The marriage to Pierre Galanti eventually ended in divorce in 1979. But Olivia de Havilland did not leave Paris. She stayed, because Paris was never just about Pierre. Paris was about who she became when she stopped performing the version of herself that Hollywood had built and started living as the person she actually was. The city gave her something that no award and no legal victory and no amount of professional success had been able to give her. It gave her herself. She lived in Paris until her death in 2020 at the age of 104. She was the last surviving star of Gone with the Wind. She was the oldest living Academy Award winner. She was a woman who had tried love in the wrong places for a long time and then found it in the right one. She was also a woman who knew, when she finally found the life that fit, to hold on to it with both hands and never let go. Not once. Not for 67 years.